We're just wanting to know why you are not answering our questions.
What questions are you talking about?
Talking about the bus drivers. Anybody ever stop? Help you? Why couldn't we get with certainty the last day she was present at school? Right now, is there a process in place to check these polls every couple of years?
Our investigation uncovered these buttons break and stay broken for weeks, months, and in some cases, almost an entire year. Senior citizens and people with disabilities live in the apartments right behind me. 3 hospitals are right over here to my left, but folks say the sidewalks around these areas are not cutting it. Small things like not being able to get off the sidewalk with your wheelchair. Neighbors who decided to stay here in New Bern are growing more and more concerned with every push of water that's coming here out of the Neuse River. It's starting to whip up again. This is, literally going in circles, and you're going to see cars try to float underneath it. I have not bought my ticket yet. I wanted to do it live on air with all of you so all the viewers at home could bless this ticket for me.
Why?
A community devastated after 3 young boys get shocked on a ballpark fence.
My head touched the gate, and I just saw a light in my eyes, and then closed my eyeballs, and I thought I died at first.
The electric jolt killed one of the boys, 12-year-old Melquan Robinson.
But I know God took him away from me for a reason.
A worker at Fleming Park wrote in a county report the fence was live with high volume of electricity. What you may not know is city workers are required to inspect facilities like Fleming Park every month to reduce risk. We asked for those inspection reports and found some months the park was either not inspected or no report was done. 11 months since 2017 went uninspected, including the month before the passing of Melquan. The reports asked the inspector to check to make sure parking area lighting is operable and if electrical boxes are secured. In all but one report in February 2018, the inspector deemed both categories satisfactory. In February, the inspector was worried about this, a missing access plate for the light pole between field 2 and 3. But 3 months later, the problem seemed to be fixed. In a statement from the city in response to our stories on the inspections, they said, quote, "The city of Augusta, Georgia strives to create a safe environment for the public and employees. Several safety-related policies are in place that enable department heads to direct staff to perform regular inspections of respective facilities." While the city and sheriff's office investigate the cause of Melquan's death, a community in mourning is waiting for answers.
All right, Kelly, so I'm measuring 115 volts on this pole. So this pole is a safety hazard.
This is video we recorded showing the owner of a utility testing business reading a high voltage of electricity off a metal light pole in downtown Augusta. But let's back up a bit. We first heard about this potential shock hazard through email. Mark Voitsberger with Utility Testing and Geographic Information Systems said he heard about the electrocution of 12-year-old Melquan Robinson at Fleming Park. He and his brother came down from Port St. Lucie, Florida with their own testing equipment.
And we came across several poles that had voltages on them that needed attention.
They told us we identified 8 light poles, each with over 100 volts on them. They said we had no luck in reporting those poles to the city. Our calls go unanswered. But these 8 poles are too dangerous to be ignored. So our I-team called the city spokesman. Engineering director John Ussery sent crews out, and we caught some of their work on video.
We did find that there was a low voltage coming off of those metal poles, so we immediately shut down the circuit that fed all of those poles, and then we did some investigation the next day and figured out what the problem was and repaired the poles.
In an email, the city thanked us for telling them about the problem. They also told us the city is now pulling the traffic engineering staff to test approximately 5,000 other city-owned lights they say were also installed under older, less stringent standards and were not grounded the same way modern lighting is required to be.
We're testing every single pole, we're looking at every single circuit, and we're going to make sure that this is not happening anywhere else.
So is there a fear there that it might be happening somewhere else?
Not so much a fear, but we just want to be safe than sorry, and we want to make sure that there is no chance of anybody getting injured with anything, that should be safe.
Right now, is there a process in place to check these poles every couple of years?
Unfortunately, we have a lot of lights, and we don't have a whole lot of people to look at those lights. So we do have them on a maintenance schedule, but it may be years in between when we look at them.
After talking to the city's engineering director, we went back out with the same guys who originally gave us the tip. They wanted to show us how their technology worked at night when the light poles are on and energized. Remember, these poles on 4th and Green were supposed to be fixed.
It's only down in there. I will tell you right now, we just drove by this pole that was previously identified, and we're getting a pretty strong indications on it, but we're only a few feet away from the transmission zone. So I'm going to validate this with this hand wand here. So you move everyone up. Based on my professional experience, I am certain that there's still 110 volts on this pole or close to it. All right, Kelly, so I'm measuring 115 volts on this pole, and sure enough, the analog meter is moving past 100.
We were there when the city came out again. The next day, the director told our I-team in a text, we tested the poles with multiple pieces of our own equipment and measured very low voltage, about 2 volts. We have shut down the electricity to the streetlights in this area until we can do a more thorough investigation. Every slot in Tracy Stone's photo album is filled with a grandbaby.
And it was fun.
Every picture is a happy one. But one smiling face dredges up the saddest memory.
It was heartbreaking.
In 2013, her grandbaby Jaden was getting off the school bus.
The bus driver had already had the stop sign was out, the flashing lights was on.
When an oncoming driver hit him, he died 16 days later.
That was really hard.
In her grandson's accident, the bus driver wasn't at fault, but instead focused, following all safety laws. Years later, she still holds her breath when her other grandkids get onto a school bus. And what our I-team uncovered took her breath away.
This is a bus driver in Richmond County.
The driver we're showing Tracy got a speeding ticket in 2003 and 2004, another ticket in 2009 for not wearing a seatbelt, another in 2010 for not putting seatbelts on 2 children in the car, another ticket for speeding in 2013, pleaded guilty to driving too fast for conditions in 2014. And the next year, Richmond County hired her as a school bus driver.
Don't they look at records before they?
They do.
How did this get through?
She didn't just get through. We found this letter of reprimand showing Richmond County Schools kept the driver on after she was found using her cell phone while driving the bus in 2016. The school threatened to fire her if it happened again. And it did happen again. In 2017, the Board of Education found the same driver at fault for a school bus crash near Copeland Elementary. When school officials checked cameras on the bus, they saw the bus driver was texting. 2 strikes. But the driver still drove a school bus until she quit.
I always assumed the Board of Education was looking out for our best interest. But this, no, they can't be.
We showed Tracy driver after driver, including one court record show pleaded guilty to punching a deputy in the face, another sentenced for possession of marijuana in 2007, and pleaded guilty to obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Her original ticket says she fled from a deputy with his lights on, and the chase ended in an accident. When stopped, deputies report finding an open bottle of vodka on the driver's floorboard. 4 years later, Richmond County hired her to drive a school bus. And here's another driver who admitted on his application to being arrested for driving drunk, unable to stand. 7 years later, he's a Richmond County bus driver.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Because I thought that their hiring was stricter. Yeah. So I don't understand how that's happening.
We wanted to know, too. In October, we asked the school system for a sit-down interview with the person in charge of hiring. The school system refused twice. We followed up with phone calls and text messages. In November, we emailed Dr. Pringle telling her what we found. At first, she agreed to an interview. Then her spokesman canceled. After 3 months of asking, we went to a public board meeting to talk to her. It's nice to see you.
Actually, you're in a wrong place now.
Okay.
Media
We're
is
just
right
wanting to
there.
know why you are not answering our questions.
What questions are you talking about?
Talking about the bus drivers,
Kelly, you are so inappropriate. You have crossed the media line. You have interfered. I mean, this is an executive session.
We'd love to talk to you after the fact. We'd love to talk to you afterwards. But Dr. Pringle did not come back out to talk to us.
How does this leave you feeling?
Makes me feel like going and picking up my grandkids from school instead of letting them ride the bus. You know, because apparently the system is not what I thought it was.
Ashley Jackson is a full-time student, just months away from graduating Augusta University, this time with a master's degree. Facebook shows her triumphs, but also some of her struggles, some every student faces, other struggles most of us don't.
There's always been some sort of challenge somewhere.
In Augusta,
Honestly, it's probably the worst place I've been to.
Ah, Jesus.
Anybody ever stop? Help you?
When it's raining, some people will stop.
the school shuttle drops her off on the top of a hill at Christenberry Fieldhouse.
How are you? I'm good, how are you?
A special curb-to-curb transportation service she uses during the daytime doesn't run past 7 o'clock. This is how she gets home from her night classes.
I had a cop stop me and ask me what I was doing one day.
And then what did you say?
I told him I was going home, and he was like, okay. Because, I mean, at some point, I think people realize, like, I don't have another option.
There's only one sidewalk, and it's on the opposite side of the road from her apartment. So, yes, she rides in the shoulder of the road. So there is a bus stop on this side of the road, but there's no way for her to get on it. There's no curb cut, and it's filled with grass.
I can't get over there. That's what I was talking about. Like, there's some I just can't get to.
We started asking the city questions about this intersection and its accessibility for people in wheelchairs last month after the May election. An advocate for disabled people and veterans contacted News 12 about this very spot where some of you, your family, and friends in wheelchairs and with other disabilities exercise their most basic right to vote. By law, polling places must have an accessible route to get to the entrance of the voting facility. Carol Burrowbridge works for Augusta Richmond County as the ADA officer. That job is to enforce and audit for ADA compliance. We asked what the county was doing about this road.
Even if that were a public street, the shoulder of the road is the accessible path.
So most likely nothing will be done there, and that's why. Because
as far as concrete, as far as putting in a sidewalk, no, we will not be putting in a sidewalk or asking Christenberry to put, or Augusta University put in a sidewalk.
And here's why.
DOJ basically says, the legal guidance says that if there isn't a sidewalk, that the accessible path is the shoulder of the road. It's not a good answer.
Ashley agrees.
But to me, that makes no sense because it's still a safety issue.
News 12's I-Team found out the county finished inspecting all of its polling places for accessibility a month before the May elections. The words you see in red are the fixes the county made. And the rest, missing curb cuts, van signs, and access aisles, that doesn't appear to have made it off these pages.
Never. Not one word.
The ADA officer confirms other locations weren't told of the audit or improvements that needed to be made.
Did you get in contact with all the people who run these facilities on a normal basis to give these recommendations, non-consequential or not?
No, not at all. The scope of my job is not to go out into the community and basically enforce or educate the public on the ADA.
But under a plan the county drafted 2 years ago and adopted earlier this year, enforcement and developing policies that require and support compliance with ADA and related regulations does fall under the ADA office. And this.
Right. But these are accessible, and that is the requirement.
And a tough reality for Ashley and others.
If I don't have the curb cuts, if I don't have the ramps, if I don't have sidewalks in most instances, sometimes I do have no choice but to do without those because they don't exist. I can't do it. If I'm with friends, I have a little bit more accessibility because I have assistance. But a lot of the time, I'm not. I try to be as independent as I possibly can.